Hi everybody, welcome to Saturday Live at the Backyard Bird Center. You know, this time of year, it's about the midpoint of winter right now, and suet is finally starting to pick up around here. It was pretty slow in the fall. We had a nice large acorn crop this year, but now the suet feeders are finally starting to pick up. So I thought it's a good time to address Mark's favorite suet feeder, because a lot of people ask and they want to know, what are the advantages and disadvantages of different kind of suet feeders and what I like the best. So thought I would cover that today. And you know that suet is basically the nutritional supplement in the winter and substitute for insects in a bird's diet. So suet is the beef fat or the kidney fat, internal body cavity fat of a cow. I've done whole videos on selecting suet cakes and things like that, but this is about how to present them. And yes, there's lots of ways to do it, and there's lots of really simple, just a standard suet cage. Obviously the advantage of this is they're cheap and you can put a suet cake in there and just hang it up and be done with it. And there's also many designs like the tail prop suet feeders, and these are designed because most woodpeckers, or all woodpeckers, use their tail. They have very, very stiff tail feathers, and they use their tail feathers as a kickstand. So that gives them 3 points of contact there so that they can brace and hammer on the cake. And so a lot of woodpeckers like that system. So the tail prop suet cakes have been very, very popular. And then they also have the anti-starling suet feeders, the upside down where you suspend it and suet's exposed underneath, and those are great if you're terribly battling starlings. And then of course the real extreme of that are the caged suet feeders, and that's where you place your suet cake inside of a cage. So a lot of different varieties, and they all have their advantages and disadvantages, but my favorite are the suet logs. And these are what they look like. They're pieces of wood that have been cut and drilled and have a hanger on them, and you can put suet in these holes. And of course I like it because it's a natural way of feeding. It's more natural for the birds to land on the tree and probe in the bark and things like that. So I really think they like that better. And they also have the especially normal size ones have the tail prop advantage, so they can use their tail prop on there and hammer the suet cakes that's in there. So I really like it in my yard. They also are a little harder for the starlings to feed out of. Not impossible, but they're harder because they can't land on it and hammer away, because usually they're trying to land flat up here, and we know that starlings have a hard time clinging for very long because of their body weight is too great for their toes, and so they tend to let go. So while it doesn't stop starlings, it is actually a little better against them than just a standard suet cage. So I love this feeder, but people also ask about what goes in them and how do you fill them. What are some of the best techniques to use? Now, suet comes typically, of course, we know, in the standard suet cakes. It also comes in the spreadable suet. They call it tree icing, where you can just smear it into the cracks and crevices. But it also comes in suet plugs, and that's obviously what is designed for these. And what I like to do with these is, instead of just taking them out of the packages and sticking them in there, if you didn't do a little extra work, then like a bigger woodpecker, like a red-bellied or something like that, could actually push the cake out through the other side and it would fall on the ground. So my tip for using suet plugs like this is I peel the plastic off, I pop them in the microwave for about 12 seconds. And what I'm doing there is just making them a little smushable. And I don't know if that's even a word, but that's more smushable. And then I take them out, pop them out of the plastic, and this is where it's a little messy because you're going to get it on your feet. You're going to get that grease on your fingers, and what I do is I break them off about a third off of the end of one of these, about a third off, and I put them through the hole, and I take my thumbs and I smush it into that so that it kind of fills up that container so that it's locked in there so it doesn't get pushed out the other side. And then I take the excess and I fill in the ends. And then, different suet logs, there's lots of different ones. Like, obviously, this one's a lot smaller than this one. This one has the bark left on it, which is really nice and pretty and things like that. So the advantages of just being a natural way that these woodpeckers and the clingers are typically feeding in nature, I think is a great advantage. The suet plug formulas are really great. There's peanuts and there's fruit and nut. And there's even a hot pepper if you have raccoon problems that you want to discourage those. So the suet log are my favorite, and they're natural materials. They're and they're going to last probably maybe 7, 8, 9 years, just in this day if you don't do anything to them. And I don't recommend treating them, just to keeping them like this. They're not that expensive, and so they're easy to replace. But the suet log, Mark's favorite suet feeder. It's a great idea for a program. People love their suet. Yeah, Ruth is reminding me that we also have suet balls. And it's funny, they call them fat balls in Europe, which is just another, they won't fit in these. Now, but I'm glad she said that, because it does remind me that, sorry, I got to hang this back up here, that you can, if you don't want to do the suet plugs, you can actually buy a suet cake like this. Use the same technique, basically, warm it up a while and then cut it into thirds, and then use those to slide in and smush in there. It works just as well. So remember that in the suet world, treat formulas or the winter formulas are fattier. They're the best ones to use in this environment. And then the other ones are called delights, and the delights are drier and doughier. These are the no melts for the summer months.
Okay, Teresa Day Long has a question. She's asking for suggestions to keep sparrows off the suet log.
Right. Yeah. The question is suggestions for keeping sparrows off of suet logs. Well, no perches is number one, and I don't have any that have perches on them. But perches do make it easier for sparrows and house finches and some of your less desirable birds to feed on suet logs. So I would definitely go without the perches on there. But other than that, there's not a lot you can do that discourages sparrows that won't discourage other birds you do want to land on there. So my only advice there is stay away from a suet log or that has perches on it, and it makes it.
Suet that has.
You'll hear me talk about a quality suet cake versus a cheaper suet cake. Quality suet cakes don't have bird seed dumped into them, and bird seed is what tends to attract things like sparrows. So a good suet cake is going to just have basically peanuts and suet in it, and all natural ingredients. But if a lot of people, to make a suet cake cheaper, they'll dump a cheap bag of birdseed in there, and that takes up space of the beef fat and the quality ingredients like peanuts, and that will tend to attract sparrows more so than a quality seed cake. So there's some ideas to try there. So thanks again for the program. Send in ideas for future programs. Give us a like, give us a share. If you're on Facebook, or if you're on YouTube, please subscribe. Until then, come by and let's talk birds.